Welcome, guys, to How the Frack We Got Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack We Got Here, that's all we believe in. We go up to the left, we go up to the right, we go up to the middle of independence. We go after all sides because there's more than one side of a story to everything, and you need to know it all in order to actually formulate your own opinion. And that's what we try to do here at How the Frack We Got Here. Thanks for listening, and hold on, it's gonna be fun. All right, guys. Today's date, September 13th, 2023, and this is How the Frack We Got Here. I'm your host, most Will Buchanan. How the Frack We Got Here. We do take the events of the week and try to make sense of it all. Before we get started, guys, we are a news podcast, so we try to be in the most reputable sense to where we pull the sources from award-winning journalism, not sensational news like your Fox News, The Blaze, wherever else that tinfoil hat love to go. At the same time, guys, we do try to maintain some level of professionalism with our trying to leave out with less profanity, but hey, words fly. At the same time, maybe things that might be shown that might be too intense for younger viewers. So viewer discretion is advised. Aside from that, welcome. So, how one can we go from this? That was a terrible sentence. Where can we go from this on this wonderful midday week in September? Well, the thing that always has wondered about me, I think I've always kind of really amazed me is that some people have this case of amnesia. What I mean by that is when something happens that someone has caused or has a hand in or has led to it, when said issue occurs, they go, okay, well, whose fault is this? You're like the person that cleans up the room. You're like the person that wrecks the hotel room, and then you're also the maid that shows up and says, who did this? Pretty much you. What I'm getting at is, guys, you guys remember the enhanced child tax credit, right? Was part of Biden's Rescue America plan. Was great as all get out just because it was giving a lot of people a break, especially for those who pay for childcare. If you haven't noticed, childcare / daycare it's too much. Really, it's too much. It is increased for multiple reasons: staffing, licensing, food, things of that, upkeep. Everything has gone up by your paycheck. And for those that depend on daycare, because if you're in a two-income household, both parents need to work, nobody can actually sit home and watch the child, daycare has been a godsend. But unfortunately, and what I'm getting to is that, well, the poverty rate, because of the end of the enhanced child tax credit, the poverty rate has jumped up in 2022. And it is amazing that conservatives are jumping on this. They're trying to sit there and say, well, let's be honest, the supplemental poverty rate has been up. It's up 12.4% since its last 7.8% back in 2022. Who else can we blame but Biden? Y'all, because you were the same ones that turned around and said that we need to stop giving Americans money. You were afraid that, hey, if this was the conservatives, and again, call me on this if you want to. This was the conservatives' way of thinking. Hey, if we give these people more money, they're not going to work. That was always the fear. That's the reason why they went after SNAP benefits. That's the reason why they went after food stamps, things of that nature. They always feared those who did not have the ability, or those that did not have the same income, or those that did not have the opportunity as themselves, will just sit at home and live off us and be moochers and welfare, which I think it's kind of funny. They call them welfare queens when the biggest state of welfare is Mississippi, where almost close to 90% of its inhabitants are mostly white. Same in Kentucky. That number has increased too. They're also on food stamps, but you won't call them welfare queens. But I digress. But for those who don't remember, the enhanced child tax credit gave payments up to $3,600 per child. To age 6 and younger, and $3,000 to ages up from there. Either way, it was great because it helped out families that had children. Because if you understand, like I said, I'm a newly parent. Children are expensive, truly. At the same time, imagine you're not only paying for food, clothing, medical bills, insurance, and add daycare on top of that. your income is gone before you can even look at the rest of the bills. But it amazes me so, because I'm going to keep bringing this up. When it comes to these poverty lines, is that no one will ever address, for the life of me, no one will ever address why in the world is the pay gone? Why in the world are we not addressing pay? Why are we not addressing income? Why are we not addressing the fact that, again, every time I point this out, the minimum wage is still $7.29 in 2023. The minimum wage is $7.29, when if minimum wage had followed the productivity and GDP of our country, it would probably be somewhere almost in the $40 area by now. I used to say it a long time ago. I used to say 26, 27. I'm pretty sure, I'm not, like I said, I don't have the exact number. I'm just kind of rough balling it, but I guarantee it's somewhere in the $35 to $40 range by now for minimum wage. Because what a lot of people forget, minimum wage is the least you could earn but still support yourself, as in with a home, clothing, food, utilities. That was minimum wage. And it's amazing to me that even now, minimum wage is still in $7. Now, granted, there are some cities and states around here that have their minimum wage up to $10, maybe $15 an hour. That's fine. It would have been great 15 years ago. I mean, even at $15 an hour, even at $20 an hour, that's still poverty wages, because everything else has gone up. And I have been saying this, and I've yet to be called out on this being wrong. Our economy is based on consumer spending. The more certain classes spend, the better the economy does. When those individuals are not getting the money they need to spend, they start to tighten up, reduce spending, which means that now you have goods that aren't selling. You have things that are goods that are selling, cars that aren't being purchased, clothes that aren't being bought. Stores are looking at too much overhead because now they can't make profit, and so things close. But it amazes me so that even now, as our poverty rates kick up, as they sweep down, jobs are prevalent. Jobs are not the problem; it's what the jobs are paying. I know a lot of people are going to be out there. Well, you're telling me that I should, the person at McDonald's should be making $30 an hour? They do overseas. You realize a fast food job overseas is treated higher than a fast food job here. Those who work at McDonald's in other countries that they consider backwater third world countries actually have better health care, better pensions, parental maternal leave, and all of these things more at a fast food location versus a fast food location here in the US. I'm just saying, here is the problem. At the same time, it can only be solved very simply: pay people. Not only just pay people for what they can sustain themselves on and their families. Because again, when you attack the paycheck, because I say it's so funny that we say attack the money, not realizing that's being done to us, when it really should be done to those who literally have no problem with, well, if you make $7.29 an hour, then maybe you should find a better job. Jobs are prevalent. I'll give them that. They're not paying enough. And at the same time, in a job market these days, trying to get that high paying job, which is that's a whole other subject. But it's hard to find a good paying job. You can find a crappy one anywhere. That's just being honest. If you're okay getting paid $8, $9, $10 an hour, yeah, you can find a job easy, because that tells you off the bat what employers are allowed to get away with. And hence why when we get to the other story that I have, makes me smile a little bit, because it should make some very important companies very afraid. But anyway, stick to politics for a second. Again, you've probably been told when it comes to politics, or if you want to go into politics, you have to be careful of what you put out there. I say it all the time. Once you put out on the internet, it's out there. It does not come down. It cycles. It makes yearly visits. Don't believe me? Go to your Facebook. Ask Beyonce if you want to. That picture is still up there, no matter how hard she tries to get it scrubbed. What I'm saying is, even in the world of politics, you have to be careful about what you do, because you're supposed to be this picture perfect, cleanliness view of yourself, and not realize that just maybe somebody's going to find out that you have an OnlyFans. I am not making this up. This potential candidate right here for Virginia's 57th district has sat there and said, I should not be judged because of my OnlyFans. Yes, I hate to break to you guys. That individual that you see right there, Susanna Gibson, who is currently running in the Virginia 67 district, is saying, oh, I love the fact that she's saying, and she says she's denouncing the reports that she and her husband had performed sexual acts on a pornographic live stream website, describing the sharing of those videos as the worst gutter politics. This was reported by the Washington Post on Monday, that she and her husband have had several videos at a certain site, which is funny because, I mean, it's they exchange, and here's the thing, she's not denying it, that they were on a site. I'm not going to say the site, but they were performing for tips on a live stream. And then those videos were recorded and then archived on their site, and then got exposed by her opponent. Again, I will say this. Do I think that disqualifies you as a politician? No. I mean, people out here, look, time's hard. Time's hard these days. Folks have figured out different revenue streams. Good for them. Folks have figured out, I mean, there's some, like I'll say it best. There's a woman on OnlyFans that literally, all she does, and I cannot make this up because I was watching a 2020 documentary on this. A woman made $500,000 plus on OnlyFans just for showing pictures of her feet. She made it come up. I'm not going to knock her for it. Now, do I think that that this politician wannabe Miss Gibson should be hauled for it? No, I don't think she should be. But at the same time, this is what politics has gotten us to. Politics has gotten us to, oh, well, she did porn. She can't be qualified. Really? We just had a guy who was in office that was president he lied, he cheated, and he steal. And yet he almost got voted. He almost got voted twice. Or will get voted twice if they don't get him convicted before the 2024 election starts. But do I think it's a problem? No. I think that, and again, this may be an unpopular opinion. I'm willing to sit on this hill and take the rock coming at me. So what if she performed acts and they got recorded? Does that make her any less qualified to run office? You keep on expecting these. My thing is, they keep expecting these clean-cut individuals. I've never done anything wrong. I've never done this. I've never drunk. I've been a good Christian. It's almost as if they have to be perfect to be considered, oh, well, these are the people that we should be running. No, I really don't. I don't trust that. Because anybody that's squeaky clean means that you did just a good enough job for someone not to find your dirt. That's all that means. If you're a flawed individual, okay. Now my thing is, unless she was doing Hitler-like things on this site, that's a little different. But if she's just being a actress, if you will, I still want to know her policies. I still want to know what she thinks. I still want to know her stance on something. If I'm living in the Virginia 57 district, I want to know what she's thinking. I can care less about the fact that, yes, you might have got caught. You and your husband might have been on a pornographic website. Apparently, it was very lucrative. But I still want to know what you will do. And that's the big thing that we get away from. Because whenever there's a scandal, it always kills me. Oh, well, he was caught with another woman. Okay, that's between him and his wife. They got to figure that out. I want to know if he's still going to run. Because a lot of people were like, oh, well, he cheated on his wife. Oh, well, he did this. Oh, well, she did that. They're disqualified from running. I'm going to say it like this. With the crop of conservatives that got through this bunch, and I say crop, I'm talking about your Marjories, your Lorraine Bobberts, your Matt Gertz. And that's just 3. There's more of them. It's like Sarah Palin opened the door for idiots like those to walk through. And they've been caught with everything, still holding office, which tells you the hypocrisy of it all. Now, again, if they were able to do that and still get in office, I don't care. If you have great things, and so what? You dress up like a clown and get on a site and get paid to do certain acts. I still want to know what your policies are. Because, again, I don't want in your life, we really should not be judging someone's choices. But at the same time, if you're going to go into politics, you can't, I've never seen a politician marry a stripper go to the White House. I've seen a politician bang a porn star and go to the White House, though. So the choice is yours on that one. But that's just one. And then you have those on the conservative side. What I mean by that is you have those that are still hopeful, but really don't know that they're at the end of the line. Tim Scott is one of them. Now keep in mind, Tim Scott is one of two black individuals that is really in the Republican Party, a senator himself, and he's running for presidency. The man is not married. The man is obviously trying to stamp every box of the typical I brought myself up by my bootstraps. I'm doing my 3 F's. I'm doing my faith, family, and then faith again for all those that don't know. I support the blue line. I think Black Lives Matter is a terroristic movement. He's checking all the boxes. But you know what's so funny? And I keep saying this all the time. Tim Scott is going to have the hardest time. He is going to have a harder time getting votes as a black man in the GOP than Nikki Haley will as a woman in the GOP when you got to face questions like this.
One quick question, because it's been in the news a lot lately. Your girlfriend, you're not married. You saw the Axios story. You've seen the other stories. I mean, listen, I covered Cory Booker last cycle. Not a big deal. So why all this attention?
Well, because some of my people playing stories to have conversations to distract from our rise in the polls, distract from our size of our audience. What we've seen is the poll after poll after poll says that the voters don't care, but it seems like opponents do care, and some media covers what opponents plant. It's okay. Good news is we just keep fighting the good fight. Make sure that America's better off today than it was yesterday, tomorrow than it is today.
So, a little bit of lying. I mean, your polls really haven't jumped since your debate. You're kind of asking the Republican Commission to actually change the rules around polling to benefit you. But aside from the fact that, Tim Scott single-handedly killed the George Floyd Police Reform Bill and actually killed the Voting Rights Act, but still believes he's a man of the people, mostly white people, I care less about his marital status. And that's the thing. The one thing I've never understood. If you're a politician, that you have to be religious, married, and obviously hold mama jeans. I don't understand it. I'm like, I can care less if your politician is single or married. That's just being nosy. I can care less. I want to know what his views are on certain topics, and I'll see whether or not I agree with them. Now keep in mind, Tim Scott doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell of getting the nomination. Now, as long as Trump is still breathing. Actually, nobody on that panel of those 8+ hopefuls, including former Vice President Mike Pence, as long as Trump is around and is still collecting money, that man can walk into one debate and single-handedly win the nomination. He still could, because there's still a lot of idiots out there who will still vote for him. But Tim Scott believes that, the polls looking good. They're not. At the same time, it's like you are still fighting an uphill battle because you chose because you as a black man chose to run for conservatives. Maybe because the bag was good. Hey, I said it all the time. Those who are black conservatives, look, I get it. You may not believe half the stuff you're saying, but the fact those checks and endorsements keep rolling in, good on you. That's between you and your conscience. Tim Scott's going to have to learn. Tim Scott is going to learn, I guess, like I said before, especially the next Republican debate, that it's really an uphill battle that you're not going to win. Nikki Haley's trying her hardest, but she's a woman, which kind of goes to the old adage: who's got it worse? It's almost like the who's got it worse situation in GOP. A black man trying to run to get the presidential nomination, or a woman whose name is not Nikki Haley is also trying to win at an all old white men's club. I mean, place your bets. My money's on Tim Scott not winning, but I think both of them are going to wind up losing anyway. But again, I care less about what the man does behind closed doors for any politician, whether it be man or woman. I want to know what their views are, because I think as Americans, we're just a little bit too damn nosy about whether or not, is everything going right in their house? Is she there? Is he there? Is he taking care of the kids? Is he being a good father? What the crap does that have to do if the man is actually going to push through policies that you actually prefer? Like I said, Americans are too nosy. But again, sticking with politics for a little while longer, this is the one thing I keep talking about when it comes to ageism in Congress, because we talked about Mitch McConnell getting factory reset 3 times. Honestly, if he gets reset one more time, they just might as well just go ahead and decommission him. But again, it's not just Republicans, conservatives. I mean, not just conservatives, Democrats too. When you have Dianne Feinstein, who should have retired a long time ago, you have, again, Chuck Schumer, you have Nancy Pelosi. And speaking of Nancy Pelosi, like I said, she did great as House Speaker. She really did. But this news should not be surprising, because I keep telling you guys, there is a problem with ageism and lifelong job security when it comes to Congress.
2024 news. After much speculation, the former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says that she will seek re-election next fall. NBC's Julie Sirkin joins me now live from Capitol Hill. So, Julie, there was some speculation that Pelosi might retire at the end of her term. She is 83 years old. She has stepped back from the official party leadership after Republicans gained control of the chamber. What's behind her decision here?
Yeah, Ryan, step back from party leadership, but clearly not going anywhere, announcing a few moments ago in a tweet that she is going to seek re-election in 2024. She's 83 years old. Obviously, the question of age has been on the topic of everybody's minds, really, over this last summer, over the last 6 months. When we talk about McConnell, who's 81 in the Senate, when we talk about Dianne Feinstein, who Pelosi stood behind, even when Democrats were calling for her to step down, Pelosi said she can finish the rest of her term. I want to read you a part of this tweet from Team Pelosi. She says, "Now more than ever, our city needs us to advance San Francisco values and further our recovery. Our country needs America to show the world that our flag is still there and liberty and justice for all. That is why I'm running for re-election and respectfully ask for your vote." She's up in 2024. She wants to continue the legacy, she says, that she has helped build here for nearly 4 decades as a member of Congress. As you mentioned, she did step down for Democratic leadership, ushering and heeding calls of Democrats and others who said it's time for a new wave of leaders. But famously, as she's now referring to herself as Speaker Emerita, she said that she will run for another term. You'll remember I was at the portrait unveiling she had at the end of last year, where she talked about her legacy, how she helped usher the passage of the Affordable Care Act, for example, her strong grip on the party in keeping Democrats together. Clearly, Pelosi, though she stepped down from her leadership position after her husband was assaulted last fall, wants to continue some of what she's built over the last 4 decades, really, telling Politico as well yesterday in an interview that she really doesn't want to see the golden age, she called it, of women who represented San Francisco to go away. She named retiring Senator Barbara Boxer, for example, who left at age 82 in 2017. She talks about Congresswoman Jackie Speer, who also retired last year from Congress. So just a stunning surprise from Pelosi at the urgence of allies and donors who have told her they want to see her running again. And now she's officially in.
In Ukraine this morning, Secretary of State Tony Blinken.
Whoops, sorry about that. So Nancy Pelosi, look, I'm not trying to take away anything from Nancy Pelosi. I really am not. I do think that eventually this kind of goes back into the ageism problem. You have these lifers that are in Congress that are just there, that just believe they need to be there, and they really do not. And again, with Pelosi, I could argue a few things there. Do I think that she's had a stellar career? Absolutely. Do I think that because of her landmark rulings and laws were able to go through? Absolutely. Do I think it's time for her to step down? Yes. Because we keep saying this all the time. Our Congress does not reflect us. It doesn't. You know what Congress is? Congress is basically the new nursing home. That's what it is. That's what Congress is. Congress is a new nursing home with legislative power. That's exactly what it is. At the same time, when you have individuals there who, again, have done a great job, but it's time for them to go. It is time to usher in new blood. It's time to usher in a Congress that is reflective of the American people. Because right now, that Congress is reflective of a Golden Girls sitcom that has been on for way too long. And again, I'm not trying to take away from Pelosi, but there comes a time when she has to step down. At the same time, Chuck Schumer, there's a time when he's got to step down. I would love to see AOC and Ilhan Omar and others of the squad and Cory Booker, the ones that kind of are reflecting what America is right now, those to step up in leadership roles. I would love to see that. But the problem is going to be back to voting. That, again, as long as people are getting voted in, they're going to be lifers and the nursing home continues, versus, although I really wish we could do this as people, we could literally just put a law forward that if we all vote on it and a majority of us agree, it automatically should become law. We already have 2 terms for our president to serve, 2 consecutive terms, and you guys sit one out. The same should be done for the House of Representatives and the Senate. You can serve 2 consecutive terms being voted in. After that, you guys sit one out. Oh, and age limits. It's like we gotta put a cap somewhere. It's like if we put a cap. My thing is, if we could put an age limit on when you can request Social Security, when you can request Medicare, when you can get those things, we have an age limit on those things that constantly keeps getting pushed back. But we have an age limit on those things. If we can put an age limit on supplemental income that you can get that you poured into all your life, how is it that we can't do the same thing for our representatives and senators? That we really need to actually put a cap on these things to ensure that, number one, they're going to be working, and number two, that they only have a finite amount of time in office instead of lifers. Like I said, it's not only on the Republican side, but also on the Democratic side as well. Because again, I think Pelosi and others, I think it's time for them to step down, really and truly. But speaking of things that, like I said before, with the 2024 presidential election coming up, here's the thing that a lot of people should be paying attention to, and I keep pointing this out every chance I get. Political ad spending. What you guys don't see is that for the 2024 election cycle, there's going to be possibly $10 billion plus being pumped into advertising, social media, everything to get your attention. That means television, radio, internet ads, the whole shebang. If you have ads going through your streaming, guess what? They're going to pop up there too. But think about that number for a second. 10 billion. Billion with a B. That alone should be very concerning. That's $10 billion. For the 2019-2020 election, it was $9 billion. So it's actually went up $1 billion. And it might actually be more. Because again, this is the part where I get a little bit, I hate this part. People always talk about there's money in politics. They want to get the money out of the election cycles. We did it at one point. Citizens United. Citizens United was a case where they try to say corporations are people, so therefore they should be allowed to donate. We sat there and thought to ourselves, this will never go through. It's stupid. You can't see corporations as people. Supreme Court showed us differently. It actually upheld the ruling. And then the floodgates opened. But this is the thing about it. This is why I say, when you think about all this money that's flowing through from donors, from PACs, from all these areas, and all that money is just there to make you look at something, to make you look at a candidate, not look at a candidate, turn toward one or avoid one. $10 billion is projected to be spent. And the only ones that are winning are the corporations that hold these networks and social media apps. And that alone should tell you something. That if you really want to get money out of politics, let's start with lobbying. Let's start with overturning Citizens United. Let's start with doing those things, and then let's see what happens when you have elections. Then let's see what happens when politicians don't get the easy money. Because you don't think there's no such thing as a broke politician. Let's just be honest about that. But when you think about it, $10 billion that is going through your airwaves, your smart devices, televisions, and things of that nature, all because they have to constantly bombard you with their candidates, because that's what's become now. Constant bombardment, keeping 24/7, keeping you in mind. Worked for Trump, and CNN did it for free 3 years. I mean, it worked for Trump 4 years ago, and CNN did it for free. They showed Trump for a full year. See, I mean, that's the one thing I'll say about Trump. He got free promo from CNN, where they kept on saying, "Oh, this is impossible. This shouldn't happen. Nobody's going to dig this." But at the same time, I wish you showed Hillary as much as you showed Trump, and we might actually have a different outcome that year. But still, $10 billion. At the same time, they're wanting people with student loans to pay back their rent. But I digress. But moving along, guys. Unfortunately, this is something new in the world of gun laws and things of that nature. what this mayor is doing, you know what? I'm just going to play the video.
Mexico is getting a lot of criticism over a new emergency order that suspends open and concealed carry laws in the city of Albuquerque. Now, this comes after a bunch of shootings there recently, including one that resulted in the death of a child. Take a listen.
The purpose is to try to create a cooling off period while we figure out how we can better address public safety and gun violence.
Now, a lot of people there are quite literally up in arms over the ban. Yesterday, protesters took to the streets to demonstrate against that new rule. But it's not just those that are pushing back. Albuquerque's mayor, the police chief there, and a county sheriff are all vowing not to enforce the governor's ban. NBC's Priscilla Thompson joins us now. Priscilla, can you walk us through the drama with this one? Can the mayor and the police chief just decide not to enforce something that the governor's put out? And what about those questions of whether or not this is even constitutional?
Well, Gotti, that is exactly what these officials are raising when they are saying that they're not going to enforce this. They are saying that they have sworn an oath to defend the Constitution, and they feel that this order is unconstitutional. I want to play a little bit of what the county sheriff there in Albuquerque had to say. Listen.
While I understand the urgency, the temporary ban challenges the foundations of our Constitution, but most importantly, it is unconstitutional. My oath was to protect the Constitution, and that is what I will do.
And he also said that he is concerned about potential civil liability for officers who do attempt to enforce this order, and also that those officers may be putting themselves at risk if they are approaching seemingly law-abiding, gun-carrying citizens and seeking to potentially take those guns or something like that. And so these are some of the concerns that we're hearing raised by law enforcement and officials in Albuquerque who are being asked to enforce this order. Gotti?
And Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, she's also getting backlash from people in her own party, right?
That's right. You mentioned the mayor, but also the attorney, the district attorney in Albuquerque, who was appointed by the governor, has said that he will not enforce this order. And we're also hearing from the ACLU that is expressing concerns, saying that this could potentially create over-policing and racial profiling in some communities if police and officers go in seeking those guns. And the ACLU is calling on the governor to use evidence-based strategies like intervention and deterrent programs that are proven to address the root causes of this violence. And they're saying that this order is not the answer.
Well, I mean, it's not. It really isn't. I mean, the level of just, okay. Like I said before, I'm all for advocating for stronger gun laws, for legislation, things of that nature. And I'm a gun owner. I will gladly submit to any type of regulation that keeps others safe. No problem. Not a problem at all. A 30-day ban on the right to open carry or conceal firearms in public. Yeesh, that's going to be a little difficult. And I say this all the time because, again, I understand New Mexico, there is an uptick in gun violence. Police are fighting it hard to do their jobs. But for the governor to pull a 30-day ban, I think you're going to basically invoke more than what you intend to prevent. Now, again, I keep saying this about gun laws. You want to change them? Change the way they operate. And it's like, well, criminals, and again, I say this all the time because I cannot, above all else, get past this. Whenever gun laws come up, well, criminals aren't going to follow them. Oh, well, they don't have to. You know why they don't have to? Because there's certain loopholes, like going gun trade knife shows. I said it best. There are two things in Tennessee you can get real easy. One is a driver's license, and two is a gun. Whether you are a felon or not, I will never stop saying this because, again, prove me wrong. A felon can go to a gun knife trade show here in Tennessee. They will not do a background check on him. If he has money, if he has an ID, guess what? He can walk out with a firearm. He can walk right past the state troopers that are usually stationed there at these gun trade night shows and no problems. Now think about it. That's Tennessee. I mean, there's other states in the South that probably have the same type of leniency. But think about it. Criminals don't have to follow laws when it's easy for criminals to go out and not be criminal to buy a gun. It doesn't take much. Now, do I think a 30-day ban on concealed carry is a little bit much? Yes. Because again, we have to focus on how these guns are getting in the hands of people, whether illegally or illegally. Because people do forget that a lot of these areas that with guns, that have these these safe zones where have the highest violence, those guns don't come from that state. They come from the states where it's easier to get guns. For example, you know that guns that are usually in Chicago, New York, and things like that area, guess where they come from? The majority of the South. There are gun pipelines where people purchase guns and bring them back up there to resell them again. Criminals can do the same thing. But at the same time, they don't want to talk about that. Now, I get the whole idea of, folks that want to open carry and concealed carry. I get it, because in this day and age, you don't know what could happen. And at the same time, you want to make sure. Some people believe in the fact that, hey, better be caught with it than not have it. And I can understand that argument too. But again, the only way we're going to approach gun laws and things of that nature and how to curb the violence is look at what other countries are doing and emulate it. Because other countries have emulated gun laws and registrations and things and additional measures, and their gun deaths have plummeted. Japan did it. New Zealand did it. England did it. Australia did it. Their gun deaths are low compared to ours, which are still rising. But again, this New Mexico governor doing that, I don't see anybody enforcing that law but her. Good luck. But speaking of laws, guys, we're switching to law enforcement for a second. The 5 police officers, because guys remember Tyree Nichols, the man who literally got murdered by these 5 gentlemen here, that literally stalked him, followed him, took him out the car, beat him to death. These 5 men right here have been indicted by a federal grand jury. So they are facing several charges, including federal civil rights, conspiracy, and obstruction offenses that resulted in Mr. Nichols' death. I'm not saying this is kind of slow, but it's kind of slow. The reason why, for all those that don't remember, there was video of this. Video that, again, them and a white correspondent, which I'm surprised that guy got off, considering the fact that he was trying to tase them as these men all tried to beat Mr. Nichols to death. But those 5 men should have been the quickest trial of the century. It really should have, considering the fact of how long it has been. That's the thing. How long it has been since the incident, since it actually happened. I mean, this was literally released on January. We're in September now. We're not too far off from the end of the year. But this happened in January. We're just now getting to indictments. And again, this is indictments that officers tried to cover up, which the prosecutors, what they're saying. At the same time, I am just like, I can't help but just want to sit there and just go, why is it taking so long? I mean, the evidence is there. The grand jury wants to indict them. I'm like, what? I mean, how much time do you need to prepare a defense when you're caught on body cameras and street cameras murdering someone? I mean, is it just because they're police that they get longer time? Or if it just, or if anybody just having to do what they did without a badge, would they immediately be in jail by now? I'm just, it's one thing to honestly say that the wheels of justice turn slow, but that is really, really, really slow. But we will keep up on that as we get along up until sentencing. But again, I'm just surprised that all the black officers were basically taken and the white officer was let go. That is still effing amazing to me. But anyway, another thing that's came out about law enforcement, because you would think that no matter who's the person that passes away, you always should respect the dead. Hopefully you're not laughing like this cop was.
Police have released new body cam footage from the night an officer hit and killed a woman with his police cruiser going over 60 miles an hour. Now, the woman, John Vida Candelua, a 23-year-old grad student, died at the hospital that night. She was crossing the road in the city's South Lake Union neighborhood back in January. The posted speed limit there is supposed to be 25 miles an hour. Now, this new body cam footage from another officer talking about that horrible crash a little after it happened, and a warning, what you're about to hear may be disturbing.
I think she went up on the hood, hit the windshield, then when he hit the brakes, flew off the car. But she is dead.
That laughter there has gotten a lot of people's attention. The Seattle Police Department released the video after an employee raised concerns. The Department of Police Accountability says it's looking into it, and NBC News has reached out to the officers in the video and their union for comment, but we haven't heard back. Joining us now is NBC News correspondent Steve Patterson. Steve, so what else is on this video, and why is it being released now?
Yeah, so it's being released by Seattle Police, as you mentioned, because of this whistleblower. This is really the only reason why we know anything about this. Apparently, according to a statement Seattle Police released, said that this was an employee just doing their job and in the course of the routine work, heard this conversation. It's a one-sided conversation inside that police cruiser recorded on a body cam that was apparently the officer didn't know was on or left it on beyond the scope of the time that he was supposed to be conducting what he was doing on scene. The employee hears this, they flag it up the pole essentially to the chief's office. And then because it's now in the accountability office, it has to be released to the public. And that's how we're able to hear it. What's on it, Gotti? I mean, it sounds awful, right? It sounds like a blatant disregard for human life, for the badge, for sense and sensibility, for protecting and serving, which is the oath that police officers take. But that's just how it sounds. I want to play another section of it, which pertains to put a price on this woman's life after she was killed. Listen to this.
No, it's a regular person. Yeah, just write a check. Just, yeah, $11,000. She was 26 anyway. She had limited value.
Now, it's important to say that this is one half of a two-sided conversation. We only hear one voice. He's talking to somebody else. This is a few seconds of a clip that could well be taken out of context. That is what the investigation is focused on. What is the context of what he's saying? Because there has been a statement released from this officer since this has all happened to say that no, what he was actually doing was mocking a conversation that would happen between two attorneys, sort of putting a price on her life, in essence, showing the injustice that he believes would come from a situation this tragic. But this is his word. It is still early, and Gotti, it is still under investigation. Back to you.
Steve, what can you tell us about the officer that we hear talking there?
Yeah, this is Daniel Otterer. He is a drug recognition officer, so he's on scene there. This recording that you're hearing is a day after this has all happened. He arrives on scene to essentially drug test the officer who strikes this woman. And in doing so, sort of figures out in part of the investigation whether or not that officer was impaired. But he's also the vice president of the Seattle Police Officer Association Guild, which is one of the most powerful, essentially, police unions in all of the Pacific Northwest. He's on the other line, according to a document that was obtained by people looking into the investigation by a Michael Salon, who is the president of that guild. So these are two high-ranking people within a guild of officers representing thousands of police officers on the street. It's part of the reason why people are so worried about that department. Gotti?
Wait, so the person on the line, do you mean the person on the phone with him? We know who that was?
Yes, we do. It is Michael Solani. He's the president of the Seattle Police Officer Guild. We haven't gotten a statement. We've, of course, reached out to both parties. We're waiting on a response, and we don't know what was said on the other end of that line. I think that's so important to say as we're sort of digging into the context of all this, and part of what will, of course, be under investigation as this continues.
So let's think about something for a second. He's right. You need to hear both sides. But do we really need to? The man sat there and said, literally, she was 26. Yeah, it's right check. She had limited value. well, the way she bopped, the way she hopped, the way she fell off when he was speeded up. I'm sorry. There is not a defense in the world that's going to save that officer. Should that officer lose his job? Yes, absolutely. If you have no respect for the dead as a law enforcement officer, you don't need to be there. Matter of fact, the person that you're literally having a conversation with on the other side, again, you shouldn't be there. No matter what, as a law enforcement officer, you are supposed to have some type of dignity for the just recently deceased. Some type of dignity. But the fact that you're on your cam and sitting there laughing about it like it's funny, yeah, I don't want you protecting and serving. If you found that funny, I don't want to know your level of what else you'll find funny. I really, really do not. But we'll keep up with that story as it goes along. But honestly, that is an officer that does not need to be an officer anymore. Because if that's how he approaches things, I can only imagine what he would say. I can only imagine what he would do when the camera's not on. What he would do or say when the camera's not on. But moving right along, guys, because we have to go back to Florida because it's the current Hold My Beer champion of the South, a teacher in Florida who led an assembly that singled out Black students is resigning. What this person did is that this person, Anthony Hines is their name, had a assembly and singled out Black fourth graders and fifth graders, telling them to improve their school performance. Anthony Hines has submitted his resignation letter last week, and quote unquote said, "I appreciate the opportunity to work in Flagler County schools." As he's trying to say, he did not think through the nature of the assembly, which is supposed to set goals and incentivize the children. I don't know about you guys, but I've had my share. Like I said, I have a very big soft spot for educators. I do. Educators have a hard job. Educators have by far one of the hardest jobs in America. You're underpaid, you're overworked in overcrowded schools with children who have more power on their side than you do, and they know it. Parents who are trying to form coalitions tell you what you can and cannot teach their children, going after libraries to remove books about people in color and LGBTQ plus people, while you're simply trying to give the best educational experience to these young minds. I get it. I understand it. However, there are some teachers that don't need to be teachers. Like, for example, if your idea is during an assembly to point out black children, sit there and say, "Hey, you guys need to do better." That is not helpful. That is basically isolation. And that's the thing. And this is the thing that some teachers understand that if you're really a teacher, you encourage all your students. You don't just sit there and decide to do a stand-up, knockdown moment of, "Hey, you guys need to do this, this, and this." I don't. It just doesn't work. Those are teachers that don't need to be teachers. Just like I just talked about a cop laughing at a dead body, laughing at a recently deceased woman. He doesn't need to be a cop. That person does not need to be a teacher. And I do not feel bad because they gave them the option to resign, which means that they can probably keep whatever pension they have. My thing is, they shouldn't be allowed to keep a pension. That pension should be taken away from them and give it to the kids. Give it to the kids for future college education. That, my friend, is repentance. But again, it's Florida. But you guys shouldn't be surprised because Tennessee, Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, Texas, the same thing had happened in any of these schools. And not say they're not happening, but imagine at these states, within those states, those schools could be having those same type of teachers there. And they wonder why education is a problem. But again, I shouldn't be surprised by that. Moving right along, guys. I told you this strike is getting closer and closer to D-Day. And the United Auto Workers are not blinking an eye. And I do mean this. Keep in mind, this is one of the biggest unions that cover the big three motor companies, GMC, Ford, and Stellaris. And you're about to tick off well over 150,000 plus union workers. Hope you guys aren't looking for cars anytime soon.
46,000 workers are getting ready to strike this week if their demands are not met by General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis. The union is threatening a walkout in multiple states if they do not reach an agreement on higher wages and benefits with the companies. Their deadline is midnight Eastern time on Thursday. If the strike shuts down production, it could cause a spike in vehicle prices and a shortage of American-made cars in as soon as 2 months. For the latest on the talks with the big three automakers ahead of a potential UAW strike, we're joined now by Ford CEO Jim Farley. Thank you so much, Mr. Farley, for joining us. We'll get to the talks in a moment, but first, Ford will be unveiling the 2024 Ford F-150 tonight ahead of the Detroit Auto Show. Tell us a bit about that and what it means for your company.
Well, the F-150 is the most popular vehicle in America for 41 years and the most popular truck for 46 years. On revenue alone, it's larger than the entire size of Starbucks or Netflix. So it's a huge business for not just Ford, but our economy. I think we're going to end the tailgate wars with a very creative solution. Our hybrid F-150 can power your house for 7 days and get better fuel economy too. So we have a lot of new technology.
Sounds impressive and very exciting, but I would have to imagine that a lot of your attention at this particular moment is on this potential strike. Just break down for us where things stand at this hour on the negotiations between the UAW and Ford. Are you any closer to reaching a deal?
We're really in the heart of the negotiations now. We're about 48 hours until our contract expires. So just about 2 days. This is really negotiations for the future of automotive manufacturing in the U.S. We are putting forth an offer today that's the most lucrative offer in 80 years working with the UAW. Large pay increases, top 1% health care. We're going to be, we have profit sharing. We're going to be adding inflation protection. We're going to be getting rid of all the tiered labor. Our team gets 5 weeks of vacation. They get another 17 days off. A lot in the offer, but this will be the most lucrative offer and will require a lot of belt tightening at the company. And there's a limit how far we can go because we have to keep investing for the transition of the industry. We're very optimistic that we can reach an agreement with the UAW in the next 2 days, and it's very important for the country.
You mentioned that 48-hour deadline. Bottom line, how confident are you that you can avoid a strike between the UAW and Ford before the end of the week?
Well, rhetoric aside, it's time for us to come together. We put in our first offer a couple weeks ago, and we still haven't found the right deal for both sides, but we're still confident that we can reach a deal because it is so important for the U.S. economy and for our country, and for, of course, those 57,000 workers. We're the most committed to the UAW, so it's critical that we find a deal, but there is a limit, as I said. We're not going to mortgage our future.
And what about the union demand on reinstatement of pensions for new workers or their calls for a 4-day, 32-hour work week? Are either of those still on the table?
I think they are from the UAW standpoint, but we can't have a sustainable industry working 4 days a week. Look, we've been very profitable as a company. We're returning from profitability. We didn't go bankrupt. Many of our competitors did. And now we've built this very competitive, profitable company. We have more work to do on that, by the way, on cost and quality. And we want everyone to benefit from that. But we also have to invest in this huge transition to partial electric future, $50 billion in Ford's case, and we need the profitability to invest.
According to SEC filings, you received nearly $21 million in total compensation in 2022. In comparison, the median total compensation for Ford employees was about $75,000. That's a 281-to-1 ratio. Do you think that gap should change?
Well, I think, first of all, my job is to add value to the company and to make sure all of our workforce is handsomely rewarded, that we all benefit in growth. And yes, that's, at all levels of the company, we have to be competitive. But my goal is just totally focused on making sure we have a vibrant future for everyone, especially our factory workers. My grandfather was an hourly worker for Ford, and we want to make sure everyone has a future, but we have to be competitive.
Talk about the potential costs to your company and to the American consumers if a strike does go forward. What kind of impact could that have?
It would be devastating. Our supply base still hasn't recovered from COVID. We have a lot of vulnerable suppliers still. We have so many communities that depend on Ford in Michigan and Ohio and all over the upper Midwest. So this has a huge impact. Any kind of significant outage would. Ford has not been on strike since the mid-'70s. We've always worked through this, and that's why we committed to the UAW. The impacts of a strike, especially a long ongoing strike, multi-week, multi-month strike, would be devastating for the U.S. economy.
Ford President and CEO Jim Farley, we thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you coming on the show.
Okay, so let's cut through the BS that we just heard. Yeah, it was BS because this is what they always do. They always get the CEO to come on there, and he looks so out of touch. I mean, the F-150 is clad here. You see the Ford background in the back. You see the Ford in the background. I guess you can see it's a Microsoft background, but again, it's this view of relaxed, of control. At the same time, I love when that journalist sat there and said, "You made $21 million in compensation last year. What most Ford workers can make is up to $75,000. Do you think they should be paid more?" CEOs, you have a wonderful opportunity right there. You could have sat there and said, "Yes, I do believe they need to be paid more. I do believe that we need to pay them. We need to pay them more so they can sustain themselves to where they're not having to work 2 jobs, to where they can take care of their families. I believe we should do that, and I believe Ford owes it to their workers." It's what he should have said. But what did he say? Oh, well, we're in a competitive market. There are literally 3 automakers. 3. You, GMC, and Solaris. What competitive? Most vehicles. Have you seen the vehicles that are on these car lots and at dealerships? Most vehicles can be anywhere between lowest is 45, maybe mid-grade is 55 to 60, high end is 75,000 and up. Who are you competing with? All you guys' car prices are the same. But at the same time, the Union Auto Workers is a union that you do not want to tick off. Because I don't know what it is with these CEOs. Do you have shareholders that you have to account for? Is there money somewhere that you believe that no matter what you have to defend as if your life depended on it? Because honestly, I'm not understanding. Not only am I not understanding, I'm just not getting it. Because the simple fact of the matter is, what are you defending so bad besides your paycheck? Because the CEO, because again, the worker to CEO ratio in the US is number 1 in the world. Number 1, and the number keeps growing. It used to be at one point, we were 500 to 1. For every 500 employees equal up to 1 CEO. It is 10 times that now. Actually, scratch that, 20 times now, 20 times more than that by now. And I love the fact that he's going to say, I mean, he had a wonderful opportunity. Could have sat there and said, you know what? I believe that they should be paid fairly and equally. Because what CEOs don't realize is that for a lot of people out there, I don't think you want to test the waters. I don't think that you want to test the waters. I don't think you want to go. I don't think you want them to go on strike. Because again, when they go on strike, you don't benefit. Dealerships hurt. At the same time, these United Auto Workers are like, all right, you pushed it. This is what you wanted. And because this is what you wanted, open season. And again, this is what kills me. That the simple fact of the matter is, you get individuals out there that literally and figuratively think this is okay. Think this is completely and utterly okay. Even more so, some people believe that, if you've heard this CEO recently, this guy, who in my opinion, just listen, because it is amazing what he's wanting.
We've had is that we have people decided they didn't really want to work so much anymore through COVID, and that has had a massive issue on productivity. tradies have definitely pulled back on productivity. They have been paid a lot to do not too much in the last few years. And we need to see that change. We need to see unemployment rise. Unemployment has to jump 40, 50%, in my view. We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around. I mean, there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them, as opposed to the other way around. So it's a dynamic that has to change. We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy, which is what the whole global, the world is trying to do. The governments around the world are trying to increase unemployment to get that to some sort of normality. And we're seeing it. I think every employer now is seeing it. I mean, there is definitely massive layoffs going off. People might not be talking about it, but people are definitely laying people off, and we're starting to see less arrogance in the employment market, and that has to continue because that will cascade across.
Yeah, that's what he said. That individual right there, that CEO of property developer, CEO Tim Gerder said that. And if I worked at his job and he's there saying we need to see unemployment rise for people to understand that, you're lucky. And I hate to say that, guys, but that is such an old school way of thinking that employers used to love. Oh, you should be lucky to have this job. You want to know why? Because there's millions of people out there that are just looking for a job, and they will gladly take your spot. Remember they used to dangle that job security over your heads, and you had people, burning themselves out. Forget work-life balance. It was literally 95% work and 5% family, and maybe 0.2% sleep, because they wanted to squeeze the productivity out of their workers. And that idiot, which, as like I said before, I hope the people that work for him are like, oh, we'll quit. Because again, this is why I keep talking about unions so much. How unions work. Because I say it all the time, I'll say it again. Never negotiate with a company on your own. Because why? Numbers matter. And one person will not do spit against a corporation. But take a union against said corporation. Now you have some negotiating power, because I love the fact that you say, well, it needs to get back to where the employee should remember he works for the employer. We remember that every day. We really do. It's the fact that we're not, the fact that we're not getting paid enough, the fact that we're having to make ends meet, work secondary jobs, pick up some gig jobs on the side, and still trying to keep the roof over our heads and food on our plates and stuff on our children's backs. A lot of CEOs forget that because, well, money is not an issue to them. And I'll say it best: when you have when your financial situations are taken care of, you kind of lose touch with those that have to face them on a daily basis. You lose touch. You really and truly do. So at the same time, it's not surprising that you get individuals out there like the CEO of Ford, like the CEO of property, where you have one who will dance around the bush, but in reality, he wants the strike to end. When you have one that's just being straight up honest, saying no, employee needs to be hired because his workers need to know their place. This is why I say my hope is see United Auto Workers out there strike. Because you know what's so funny? We've covered a lot of strikes that have happened this year. We've covered nurses, we've covered teachers, we've covered John Deere, we've covered dog food factories, we've covered everybody that went on strike. And you know what's so funny about all these places that went on strike? Those people actually won, including the most recent one, UPS. All drivers wanted was a bump in pay, air-conditioned vehicles, and better health care. And UPS was literally, if not arguably the biggest logistics company in the world, one of the biggest logistics company in the world, was about to risk their drivers and workers all quitting just because that's all they wanted. And guess what? They got it. So you don't think that of all the strikes we've covered, nurses got what they wanted, teachers in certain areas got what they wanted, gig workers got what they wanted, those in the service industry, especially California, got what they wanted. Do you not think for 1 second the United Auto Workers Union will not get what they want from the big three? They can sit there and bluff strike all they want to. But there's only one. But again, like I've always said before, I'll say it again. If you want to get the employer's attention, you have to attack the bottom line, attack the money. If you attack the money, you have their attention. Because again, these are CEOs that have gotten to the mountaintop and don't want to come back down. And as me and a former friend used to sit there and say, once you've had steak, it's hard to go back to that. It's hard to go back to that ramen you get from Walmart. That's all I'm saying. But moving right along, guys, again, in the world of business, which I find so funny because these business people are always supposed to be smart, making business decisions, all this stuff. You remember you used to go to a place like McDonald's, Arby's, those fast food joints, and they wanted to self-serve. They wanted to self-serve you because they're trying to cut down jobs. They figure they give you a cup. They put a Coke station over there. You can fill up your own drink and refill it, and you can do that. Well, McDonald's has decided to eliminate self-service soda stations at its restaurants. So by the year 2032, you'll basically have to pay for refills. And again, this is what I can say when it comes to business decisions. This is probably the most dumbest one out there. Because again, they're trying to find ways of cutting costs. Because the one thing about business has always been above all else. They have this one little rule. It's always about profit. It's always about the bottom line. Make the bottom line extend however you can through by any means necessary. So what I mean, does that mean you'll cut CEOs' pay and top executives? No. Does that mean you'll cut bonuses and you'll cut a monthly quarterly profit sharing? No. Will you cut down on shareholders that maybe rein in who can actually own stock? No. So what are you going to do? We're going to tell customers that they can only get 1 cup per meal now. This is why I sit there and say it's crazy that I'm not saying the brick and mortar stores like Circuit City. There's a lot of them, but let's just say Circuit City because it's a national brand. It closed its doors. It tried to go online for a little while, but it was behind the curve. Refused to do the changes necessary as e-commerce was growing and becoming a thing with Amazon just buying up everything that they refused to grow. And now McDonald's, which did champion for a little while because that dollar menu was saving lives. That dollar menu for the longest time gave McDonald's probably its biggest net profit in a very long time. And now, because let's be honest, every fast food is not cheap anymore. I'm sorry. At this point, you're better off just going to the grocery store, paying their prices because if you think you're gonna get a meal for like less than $10 at Walmart, at less than $10 at McDonald's these days, good luck. Or anywhere for that matter. But again, as folks, like I point this out, there's a correlation here. As folks do not have the money like they used to, and they're tightening their belts, so do restaurants are going to feel the effect of less and less patrons going to them. And instead of McDonald's, because their whole thing is about making profit, turn a quarter, they refuse. They do the most asinine thing. You shoot yourself in the foot and reload. Not surprised by that, but I feel like McDonald's is going to change their mind once they realize the bottom part of all this is not going to be what they think it's going to be. I'm just saying. But a little bit more, a couple more news stories, guys, before we do get out of here. I got to say this one just because, number one, wow. Because this is politics related because Matt Gaetz decided to say something, and I did not think it was going to happen because Republicans have been screaming about this for the longest time. And of course, 15-time attempt person, Kevin McCarthy, has said nothing. Well, Matt Gaetz decided that he's going to say this on the public floor.
This very floor in January, the whole world witnessed a historic contest for House Speaker. I rise today to serve notice. Mr. Speaker, you are out of compliance with the agreement that allowed you to assume this role. The path forward for the House of Representatives is to either bring you into immediate total compliance or remove you pursuant to a motion to vacate the chair. We have had no vote on term limits or on balanced budgets as the agreement demanded and required. There's been no full release of the January 6 tapes. As you promised, there has been insufficient accountability for the Biden crime family. And instead of cutting spending to raise the debt limit, you relied on budgetary gimmicks and rescissions so that you ultimately ended up serving as the valet to underwrite Biden's debt and advance his spending agenda. Mr. Speaker, you boasted in January that we would use the power of the subpoena and the power of the purse. But here we are 8 months later, and we haven't even sent the first subpoena to Hunter Biden. That's how you know that the rushed, and somewhat rattled performance you just saw from the speaker isn't real. At this point, during Democrat control over the House of Representatives, they had already brought in Don Jr. 3 times. And we haven't even sent the first subpoena to Hunter Biden. Power of the subpoena and power of the purse. Only thing the 118th Congress is known for at this point is electing Kevin McCarthy speaker and underwriting Biden's debt. And unfortunately, there's only one of those things we can remediate at this time. Power of the purse. Our leadership right now is asking us to vote for a continuing resolution. A vote for a continuing resolution is a vote to continue the Green New Deal, a vote to continue inflationary spending, and in the most troubling of fashions, a vote for a continuing resolution is a vote to continue the election interference of Jack Smith. Mr. Speaker, we told you how to use the power of the purse. Individual, single subject spending bills that would allow us to have specific review, programmatic analysis, and that would allow us to zero out the salaries of the bureaucrats who have broken bad, targeted President Trump, or cut sweetheart deals for Hunter Biden. September 30th is rapidly approaching, and you have not put us in a position to succeed. There is no way to pass all the individual appropriations bills now. And it's not like we didn't know when September 30th was going to show up on the calendar. I must be better. You must be better. And this House must be better, for it is the last best hope for tens of millions of Republicans. We demand real oversight against this weaponized government. Just look at the bribery. If tens of millions of dollars flowing from foreign corrupt people into the bank accounts of the Biden family wasn't enough for actual impeachment, why were we even looking? Joe Biden deserves impeachment for converting the vice presidency into an ATM machine for virtually his entire family. We all see it. We all know it. Now, moments ago, Speaker McCarthy endorsed an impeachment inquiry. This is a baby step following weeks of pressure from House conservatives to do more. We must move faster. Now, I will concede that the votes I have called for will likely fail: term limits, balanced budgets, maybe even impeachment. I am prepared for that eventuality, because at least if we take votes, the American people get to see who's fighting for them and who's willing to tolerate more corruption and business as usual. Mr. Speaker, dust off our written January agreement. You have a copy. Reflect on the spirit of that agreement and build on the start that we had moments ago. Begin to comply. No continuing resolutions, individual spending bills or bust, votes on balanced budgets and term limits, subpoenas for Hunter Biden and the members of the Biden family who've been grifting off of this country, and the impeachment for Joe Biden that he so richly deserves. Do these things or face a motion to vacate the chair. And let me alert the country, a motion to vacate might not pass at first, but it might before the 15th vote. And if Democrats bail out McCarthy, as they may do, then I will lead the resistance to this uniparty and the Biden, McCarthy, Jeffries government that they are attempting to build. I know that Washington isn't a town where people are known for keeping their word. Well, Speaker McCarthy, I'm here to hold you to yours.
Well, that was about 4 minutes of my life I won't get back. Yes, this man, Matt Gaetz, who I'm surprised the man's not in jail, considering the fact he's got his own illegal issues, has sat there and laid the gauntlet, has sat there and said, House Speaker McCarthy, either you begin to impeach Biden or we will get rid of you. Keep in mind, guys, this all stems back from when the 118th Congress is being sworn in, and Kevin McCarthy had to be put up 15 times to be elected House Speaker. Matt Gaetz, Lorraine Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and a handful of others were not going to basically nominate him as Speaker. It's amazing. It's the first time. It's amazing in the first time of that party being conservatives that they were not all together about bringing Kevin McCarthy as House Speaker. And there were some concessions that were going to be made. One of those concessions was to begin the impeachment of President Joe Biden, to look into Hunter Biden. I know it is the new Benghazi. I know. It is the new Benghazi. What I mean by that is It's Republicans crying wolf until they can't cry it no more, or until a movie gets made about it. That's what they're doing here. Now, you would think Kevin McCarthy, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, would be like, okay, call your bluff. But unfortunately, like most conservatives, they cave under pressure.
Rise in Washington came from Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy, announcing today that he's ordering an inquiry into impeaching President Biden. The order gives House Republicans license to investigate the president and his family's business dealings. The White House calling the move extreme politics at its worst. McCarthy alleging corruption and abuse of power on the part of the president. But does he have the evidence and the votes? Garrett Hake starts us off tonight from Capitol Hill.
Tonight, House Republicans ramping up their investigation into President Biden and his family. Speaker Kevin McCarthy directing 3 GOP-controlled committees to open an impeachment inquiry.
These are allegations of abuse of power, obstruction, and corruption. And they warrant further investigation by the House of Representatives.
House Republicans have alleged that the president has profited off the foreign business dealings of his son Hunter and lied about it, but have provided no direct evidence to prove those claims, which the White House has denied.
There is no evidence of wrongdoing by President Biden because President Biden didn't do anything wrong.
But Republicans believe elevating their investigations to an impeachment inquiry is necessary to overcome what they say is White House stonewalling in their various probes.
There's enough smoke. There may be a fire there. So I think this is the logical next step.
That's what leadership looks like, and it's absolutely the right thing to do.
Democrats tonight rallying to the president's defense, accusing Republicans of seeking revenge for the 2 impeachments of Donald Trump.
This is an illegitimate impeachment inquiry. Period. Full stop.
Some openly mocking the GOP effort as unserious, without evidence or a full House vote to support it.
Oh my gosh, it's devastating. Ooh, don't do it. Please don't do it. Oh no.
And tonight, the committee chairman leading the inquiry says his first step will be pursuing bank records for Hunter Biden and the president's brother.
You know what? I kind of agree with Senator John Fetterman. Ooh, go ahead and call your quick inquiry. I mean, keep in mind, the conservatives' inquiry on a lot of things right now is like, 0-6 at this moment? They went after Hillary. Oh, you're responsible for Benghazi. Hillary, after 15 hours. 15 hours, that woman was being interrogated, and she's bored. Trump couldn't even handle 30 minutes in a room with one investigator. And and let's not forget Hunter Biden. Oh, how they want. Oh, the president's protecting his son. Oh, the president is using them at White House as an ATM. Where's your evidence? Because this is a smokescreen. Absolutely. Is it annoying? No question. And this is what I kept saying, is that this is what this conservative Congress wanted. They wanted to disrupt, and they wanted to get back. They want to get back because their former failure in chief got literally. He was brought up to literally be indicted and was almost impeached. He got indicted twice. Granted, impeachment didn't happen. Republicans bailed him out. But now Republicans are going to be like looking at Joe Biden. Oh, we're going to get you too because they got our president. They got our president. Even though none of them say Trump. Trump's like the Beetlejuice of the political world right now. You say his 3 names, say his name 3 times, he shows up. The thing I'm getting at here is, and I'm telling you all this from a voting standpoint, because elections are going to happen. I know in Tennessee, theirs is actually happening as of tomorrow. But as elections are happening, as the presidential election is going to be coming full steam next year, and then the year after that is going to be the midterms, to where the House and Senate were going to look completely different, hopefully. This is why I stress so very much. Please look at the candidates, deep dive them, see what their policies are. If they're not for you, don't vote for them, but find the candidates who do. Or if you feel like you can run for office, run for office. People have done that in the past. Why not? I am simply saying at this point, don't do anything. Inactivity has never led to nowhere. But if you haven't noticed, with this Congress that we have right now, with Trump, who believes he may get back to the White House, it's still crazy how he got there in the first place. this just goes to show you that as American people, we must do more than just vote. We must act. Otherwise, Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene are going to be the face of what people outside America see. And I'm sorry, I do not want to be represented by two of the biggest idiots this side of Fox News. That being said, guys, I want to move on to our Feel Good segment because usually how the Frack got here, we do cover a lot of things that are doom and gloom. Sometimes they use faith in humanity, but hey, it's Wednesday, it's hump day. Tomorrow is Friday, which is Thursday. I don't leave you guys out with some good vibrations. And again, I love the fact of when teachers get honored, like I said before, very special place in my heart for educators. And this woman is no exception.
We need to talk to Mrs. Yonks. Can you guys show? There she is right there. Hey, Miss Yonks, Erica Yonks, is that you?
Hi.
Hey, it's Michael Strahan. You know, we have a surprise for you out here on set. So we have a couple of friends that are going to help you out. Lara Ray, can you bring Miss Yonks out here?
Absolutely. Ms. Yonks, get out here. Hi. Hi, welcome to GMA. Hi, I'm happy to be here. Hi. As you can see, Ray is very happy. This is our new mascot. Nice to meet you. His name is Ray, and I'm Lara. Hi, Lara. And Ms. Yonks, we heard all about the amazing work that you do as an art teacher at Martin Luther King High School here in New York. Right. I'm going to hold your hand because we're going to walk into the studio right now because I know you thought you were here for an interview. Yes, ma'am. But this is actually just all about you. So go over here, and I want you to see what we've done for you. Do you recognize anybody? Come on, Ray. Your family is here. Your students are even here to celebrate you.
Good to see you.
Hi, nice to see you.
I see some tears.
Yeah, this
tears
is.
And you know, you're here. You're happy because you see everybody here. Everyone here and all your students know how special you are.
Thank you,
but
sir.
we want America to know how special you are. So take a look.
Art teacher Erica Yonks is more than just an educator.
It's like you actually had a mom there.
Her students just call her Mama Yonks.
Even if sometimes you feel a little sad, you walk in there, she greets you with a smile, and it's like one of those warm smiles where like if she's giving you a hug, you know, and you just feel safe with her.
I see the art room similar to a kitchen in a home where the warmth happens, the nurturing, where people collect, come together.
The community she creates is palpable here at Martin Luther King High School for Law, Advocacy, and Community Justice, a Title I high school in New York City.
Our students are motivated, they're excited. We noticed their needs and we want to be able to meet them. And Ms. Yonks always is so in tune, and students feel comfortable coming to her, speaking with her.
The youngest fan of the 45-year-old mother of two, her 9-year-old.
My mom is kind, generous, and if you come into her room for the first time, she will always welcome you, but she yells.
And as if her heart weren't big enough, a cabinet of free supplies sits open in her art room for anyone who needs them.
Go ahead and pick your teas.
Her compassion getting even the quietest teens to open up.
I just felt like I could come and talk to her, and I think she did give me a voice.
She's one of the best teachers in our school. In the teenage years, we all know it's very complex. Being able to have someone like Ms. Yonks in our school community, she's priceless. You know, she is a pillar in our school community. Come back and visit me in the art room.
Now, we've been calling you Miss Yonks. I just want to call you Mama Yonks.
I'll take it.
I think that's what we should do. And watching that, you see how much of an impact you have on your students' lives and how they feel about you. How does that make you feel?
It feels amazing. It feels like all the hard work is paying off to see how happy the students are and how welcome they feel in my room.
And you know, we have your husband here, Robert. We have your sons Ryan and Levi here as well. And you know what? What does it mean? You heard them talk about your mom a little earlier, right there. How does that make you feel?
Very happy.
Oh.
Yeah, very proud of your mom.
Yes.
As you should be. As you should be.
Well, your family and your students aren't the only ones who are impressed by what a dedicated teacher you are, Mama Yonks. Donors Choose, the organization that helps public school teachers get donations for their classrooms. They heard about the great work that you do, and they wanted to help. And so we got Ray to help us with that. Ray, come on out here. You've been funded, girl. donors. Thanks to donors choose for your classroom for the project. Mommy, I have to ask you, how much will that help you in the classroom? What will you do with it?
That's going to be able to supply some sketchbooks for the students, some art pencils, some high quality materials, some feminine products, snacks, everything.
And we know that your closet's always open, so spend away.
Yes, thank you. Wow, thank you, Donors Shoes.
And you know, we know you love your wife. We know you love your mother. Do you think she deserves a vacation?
Yes.
What? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah, you can go because we gotta take care of the whole family because the whole family deserves a vacation. So you know what? Our friends at Adventures by Disney, they were so inspired by what you're doing and by your your work in the classroom that they decided to say thank you by sending you, your husband Robert, and your kids, yes, and your kids on a vacation to Costa Rica. So how does that sound?
Sounds like a plan.
Sounds like a plan.
It's really just for your family. I want to tell you a little bit about this trip. It's a full week with an expert tour guide. You'll see tropical wildlife. Oh, goodness. You guys can go zip lining if you want to. You can soak in natural hot springs. And you can even do a chocolate tasting in a rainforest. I mean, this sounds amazing. Adventures by Disney's, they just want this trip to inspire ideas for your classroom. They're hoping that you'll get really inspired and also relax and enjoy because boy, do you deserve it.
Thank you.
You know, it's so great. They reminded me when we came out here, you two told me that you saw me somewhere in New York 13 years ago, and I gave you a hug because you had just gotten married. Can I give you another hug now? Congratulations. Thank you for all you're doing. Thank you. Robert, come on in here. Family hug. That's right. You know what? We've got more GMA Spirit Week fun coming up tomorrow.
And again, I thought that was cool. Like I said before, teachers do deserve a lot more. And I, again, wish we could do more, but, you know, it's always nice to see good people get rewarded. So always wonderful and great, even though Michael Strahan that's a big ass dude to be giving hugs. But anyway, that's going to do it for this podcast, guys. I do thank you all for liking, for watching, for letting people know this is live. I certainly appreciate that. Again, before I get out of here, some shameless plugging as usual. Shout out to my friend Vaughn at BigBZA. You can definitely find him, BigBZA at gmail.com. Of course, BigBZA on all social media. He does have a music YouTube page to where you can definitely see about the music he does. And if you're interested in getting beats made, really for any occasion, definitely check him out, BigBZA on all social media. As for myself, guys, you can find me, BlackBox447 on all socials. I usually do reviews and everything that I read, that I watch, that I play, and gym stuff because I believe in doing a couple push-ups. Before we get out of here, guys, the link that you see trailing at the bottom, maybe that's just a wee bit bigger. If you copy and paste that link into your browser, take you to the link tree. That's the YouTube and Facebook groups for all my podcasts. How the Frack got here, get bit, and of course, Southwest Podcast. Like, share, subscribe. Again, let me know what you think of everything we discussed tonight. Again, the only thing I ask that you keep it clean. Again, we're not always going to agree, but at least let's exchange ideas and actually open up instead of not trying to beat each other down or doing I'm right, you're right type of thing. Let the facts speak for themselves. That's all I ask. Aside from that, guys, again, we'll be back hopefully here, same time, same channel as well, going over the news. But I cannot stress this enough that we are approaching an election year. Get involved, know the candidates, and again, if you feel like running for yourself, there's plenty of sites out there where you can run if you choose to, whether it's local or whether it's federal. You still can make a difference no matter what you do. Aside from that, guys, the last thing about how to Frack out here, it's all about staying informed. We are not trying to reinvent the wheel. We are simply giving you all the information, letting you make up your own mind, but we do provide a logical perspective that goes along with it. We do a lot better society when we're progressive. We move forward, we try to right the wrongs from our past, make decisions now that we should have done back then, like electing our first black woman electing our first black woman to the Supreme Court, electing our first black woman to the Federal Board of Governors, electing our first black woman to be our national cybersecurity director. All great things. We don't learn from history. We are doomed to repeat it. That's what we keep asking ourselves. Why does everything go about our paycheck? Why are we electing different politicians but still the same old game in Congress? And most importantly, how the frack we got here. Thank you all for watching, guys. Take care of yourselves and each other. We'll all get through this. Peace.